Mother Knows Death, starring Nicole and Jemmy and Maria QK.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mother Knows Death. We have a lot of great stories for you this week. Today, we are going to get started talking about Tylenol use during pregnancy and its potential link to autism, the dead teenager who was found in singer David's Tesla, a man who died on a ride at Universal, a surrogate who was put on leave because she was carrying someone else's baby, a mom and a daughter who are both pregnant by the same man, and newborn babies that were switched and given to different mothers in the hospital. All that and more on today's episode. Let's get started with the big news this week that there is some kind of a link between Tylenol and autism.
I mean, this was pretty controversial yesterday on the internet with one side having opinions, another side having completely different opinions. So the news came out that there's this potential link between Tylenol use during pregnancy and autism. And the president is saying the FDA will notify doctors of a very increased risk of autism from using it, even though so many people are debating that there are decades of research saying that this is not the case and that it is very safe to use. So how do you feel about this?
Well, first, I'm always skeptical of anything that the government tells us at this point. So I always want to do my own research on things. And even then, you can go to all different sources and you never really know if you're getting the full story. But this isn't really news to me. I feel like I've been hearing this for a very, very long time, that there's some kind of link with Tylenol. And that's kind of exactly where it stands. So they're saying that, and this is a terminology thing, they're saying that Tylenol in pregnancy causes autism. And there's never really been a study done that says that. There are studies done that show that there is an association with it, which is just a difference, which means that they've seen an increased risk in autism in children that have been born to mothers that took Tylenol during pregnancy. However, they don't know if it's Tylenol mixed with the genetic component, if it's Tylenol mixed with something else. They don't know what the relationship is. They just know there's a relationship. Does that make sense?
It does. So, with that in mind, I think it seems irresponsible to have said that in the way they did without having the data to back it up.
Yes. I mean, the terminology is not correct and people are jumping on that. So if they wanted to say, we want to, this is what I would have done. I would have said, we want to put a warning label on Tylenol because there's some kind of association with it. We don't know what it is yet, but we know that Tylenol, either by itself or with something, is increasing the risk of autism. And of course, the way that they say it, this is why there's a lot of trust lost in just all of these different things. And I feel kind of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but I just feel kind of hopeless or something that from now on, it's just going to be like every other administration that's in the White House. It's going to be like half of the country doesn't listen to what they say because they hate that person. Then the other person comes in and then they like that person. It's just going to be this ping-ponging back and forth. So whoever hates this dude is just going to disagree with it anyway. It literally doesn't matter what he says, and it's the same with the other side too. It doesn't matter what anybody says. You're just going to find something to nitpick and say that it's wrong. So, the reason that it's irresponsible to say it in the way that they did is because, especially, I was never a crazy pregnant person. I don't know. I work in the hospital. I say this all the time. All of the placentas that I would see with mothers on heroin and methadone and all of this, smoked crack, babies born healthy, all this stuff, right? I just was kind of like, I'm eating cheese during pregnancy. Like, I don't care. Like, but some people are extra extreme, like Andrea, if you're listening. But I mean, she had a hard time getting pregnant and everything. And she was just very, very like, I don't want to use this face wash. I don't want to dye my hair. Like, so when you say that to a pregnant person that Tylenol use causes autism, that's going to make a certain amount of women never want to use it. Now, that's fine. If your knee hurts or whatever, you have a headache and you just want to like ride it out, that's fine. And really, you should try to do that anyway, just to minimize whatever you take during pregnancy. But the problem comes in when a woman gets sick when she's pregnant, which happens. Like, in fact, it happens more often because pregnancy you're considered immunocompromised, right? So if you get an illness where you get a fever, Tylenol brings the fever down. Having a fever during pregnancy is not a good thing because it could lead to miscarriage, honestly. Like, it could really make you sick and risk the fetus's life as well. So, if you have people now that are getting fevers that are now scared to death to take Tylenol to make it go away, that is going to potentially be a problem, right? So, whereas if they said, we think there's an association, but we're not sure what, it just seems a little bit more like palatable that people would be willing to take it if they were pregnant,
Well, I also think an important detail, which of course they don't have the data on, is are we talking about this as pregnant women that took a handful of them throughout their whole pregnancy, or women that are popping one every single day?
So yeah, I checked this out, and according to Yale Public Health, it is frequent and prolonged acetaminophen use. So it's not just like, oh, I took 4 during pregnancy. Now, what you need to remember is that Tylenol is basically the only kind of pain-relieving, fever-reducing drug a woman could take during pregnancy.
Yeah, because they can't take NSAIDs, right?
No. So now you have a situation where, I mean, there's people who have rheumatoid arthritis and lupus and just headaches, whatever. Like, sometimes people take Tylenol every day of their life for things like that. So I'm thinking that it's more of those types of patients. And like I said, we don't know what the link is because there's studies done that have Tylenol and autism, and they're just like, we can't make the connection. So it's definitely an association, but why? Kind of. We don't know why, right? Another thing, though, from the other side is that we can't, I've seen a bunch of doctors posting like, Tylenol has been the safest drug in the world since 19 blah, blah, blah. And like, that's, to say that it's benign, it's the same with the vaccine talk and all that shit. Like, it's just like, any single time you're putting a drug in your body, even something like Tylenol, there is a risk with it. It's a safer drug for sure, but it's definitely not 100% benign. People have had issues with it, including it's very easy to damage your liver with it, really. And especially if you already have liver damage, like if you're a drinker, you could have serious problems with not that much Tylenol. So, but I don't know. I just think that it's just kind of like, I know that we've been talking about this forever. There's this potential link, but like, why did it have to be announced in that way yesterday? Just with like, I feel like it wasn't very thought out and tiptoed around because of how sensitive it is.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, if they went up there and did that press conference and were like, we've thought this for a while, we conducted these studies, and this is what the studies have shown us, I think a lot more people will be taking it seriously. But you're like, you literally just went up there and said something. Like, you have like this, basically this conspiracy that there's a link between the two, but you have nothing factually backing that up, And that's why I think it was so controversial.
I mean, I guess this is the thing, though. Obviously, because of COVID, there's been like a huge distrust in public health, right? And then this time around, they wanted Robert Kennedy to be like, we're going to be more transparent about what's going on. And this seems to have come out of left field for many people because I don't think they've really ever outwardly said that there was an association. So most people don't check scientific papers and have no idea that this is even a thing. Did you know this was a thing?
Well, no, not to the extent you did. I didn't know why everybody was freaking out about it yesterday because I started seeing this popping up in the news 2 to 3 weeks ago. So I was like, why all of a sudden yesterday is this like the big deal? But I understand they did that big conference about it.
Yeah. And like, that's the thing. So the average person that's your age, right, that's getting pregnant and stuff like that is like not aware of this association. And I think that that's really all they should have done was been like, hey, just a heads up, there's some kind of association. You do what you want with the information kind of thing. I don't know. Like, I don't really know if there's something that they know that they're not telling us or.
Well, they just didn't word it
was messy.
correctly.
It was messy. It was messy. And really, like, he shouldn't have been talking about it really because he's not. I don't think you have to be a doctor to talk about it, but he's not a medical person, and it should have been explained a little bit better. And I feel like from a medical person perspective, if I was standing behind him, I would have been like, oh God, just shut up. Please stop. You're making it worse. Like, and it kind of discredits something that might be very real.
Well, yeah. And like, also I wanted to note that this article we're referencing said Tylenol's maker, Kenvu, said Monday that it strongly disagrees that acetaminophen causes autism and is deeply concerned about the health risk, blah, 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 blah. We also need to take in perspective, of course, the drug company is not going to come out and agree with this finding that it's potentially going to make their stock plummet and their money go down. So, like, I think the important thing to realize here is everybody needs to hear this and kind of do their independent research and see if there have been proper studies conducted. And it was like what we're saying all the time. If a study is done and it does prove this, let's make sure it's by an independent source, not like ibuprofen running this study for real, right? So I don't know. I agree with you. It was just completely messy. And if there is an association, like you're saying, they should have said that. And the way everybody's taking it is just like, this is it. This is what's happening. And this is what we believe. Not like there is speculation that there is a link between the two pending further investigation.
So one of the, there's been lots of statements issued by all of these health agencies and things. And one of them said, quote, "It is highly unsettling that our federal health agencies are willing to make an announcement that will affect the health and well-being of millions of people without the backing of reliable data." Right? And I agree with that statement, but like COVID, like, hello?
COVID, Oxycontin, do you want to go down the list of every medication ever put out?
What about that whole thing that we had to be 6 feet away from each other and they ruined and closed restaurants because of it and businesses that were in close quarters, and now they're just like, yeah, we just kind of like arbitrarily made that up. So this is why we don't trust it ever. And like, will we ever again? I don't really know. But it's not like this is unprecedented. This has happened. It happened with COVID for sure. And yes, with Oxycontin, we could go through the list of like all different things that they told us were safe and weren't safe. And the implications of something like Tylenol being considered not safe in pregnancy it's just so huge, just because so many people get pregnant and so many people are afraid of autism. And so.
Well, can you imagine if a mother lost her life or a child died prematurely or something because they had a fever that could have been taken care of with taking a dose, and they didn't do it because they were scared?
The other thing is that for parents that have autistic children, I don't know because I don't have an autistic child, right? But I would think on one hand, I would just want to know anything possible to help. I mean, but at this point, you already have the autistic child. There's nothing that you could do to reverse that kind of at this point, except they did say yesterday too that the FDA is now approving leucovorin, a medication for autism, because they found that
a cancer medication.
Well, Lucia used to take it.
Okay.
So it is usually given to patients that have cancer, but since she's got an autoimmune disease and the specific, when she was on the methotrexate, they gave her, she had to take that pill too. And they're finding that because there is a folate deficiency in, they think there might be in some patients that have autism, that they have seen a little bit of an increase in their verbal communication in some patients. So if I was a mom that had a child that was having verbal communication issues, I would be open to hearing about other things, and also just willing to listen to possible reasons why my child did get autism. Because if you think about it too, let's say I had an autistic child. Well, now you're of childbearing age. Wouldn't you want to know what caused that? Because it could be something genetically or something. Could
Totally.
be Tylenol mixed with the genetics or whatever it is. And,
I'm just sure any active pregnant woman right now is probably just freaking out over this, because it's you already stressed out over every single detail. And then this comes out and you're like, well, what if I do have to take it when I get sick? And then that does end up happening. But then what if it ends up being something totally unrelated?
They do need to be more specific about what they have studied as far as the dosage that they think, because that could be huge too. It also could be huge in what trimester is it used in. There's all different things that they need to which they should have just slowed their roll a little bit and said, say for example, okay, Tylenol, if you're taking more than 3 or 4 Tylenol a week in the second trimester, you're at an increased risk. Be more specific instead of just being yeah, that stuff's terrible. To me, there's factories and people. I mean, I don't care about pharmaceutical companies, but there's a lot of people that rely on Tylenol. I mean, could you imagine? It's probably the most common drug that's sold in the world. Really, I don't. Seriously, if you really think about it, it probably is.
I mean, to me, this was just up there with outrageous claims, as well as another thing that came out yesterday that a rapture's apparently happening today. So, what is going on?
I heard that today, too.
So,
all right.
If you guys hear this episode, I think we've survived it, but
for now.
Ridiculous.
Okay. All right. So, let's talk about, we talked about this in the Gross Room live YouTube, right? We haven't talked about this on this show, right?
No, so this broke after we wrapped recording our episodes last week. So we covered it on YouTube Live, and it was initially when, just the bare amount of information was coming out about it. And then we did a really deep dive on it in the Gross Room yesterday. So a couple weeks ago, police got a call about this foul odor coming from a Tesla at an impound lot. The car had only been there for 2 days since it had been reported abandoned in a local neighborhood. And when police got there, they found the badly decomposing body of this missing teenager, Celeste Rivas. And the car is registered to the singer David, who's been actively on tour for the last couple of weeks.
So there's been a lot of different information that's come out as far as what her body looked like. And so they said that she was, these are specific words they used, severely decomposed. Her body was not intact, and it was wrapped in plastic in the trunk of the car. They also have said that it appears that she was in the car for 5 days.
Before it got to the impound lot. So and how long was it in the impound lot? Only 2 days.
So 2 days. So a total of a week, right? So if you date back and say, okay, what was 7 days before her body? She was found on September 8th, correct?
Yeah.
So September 1st-ish, around there. He was on tour.
Yes.
So okay, so that's the question. Like, well, if he's on tour and he has an alibi and he wasn't there, then who did this, right?
Yes.
My other question, though, is it just possible that, because we don't have the autopsy report yet, we tried to get it and it says we have to wait for it to come in the mail, so we'll get back to you in 2 months. But it says that the cause of death is, and the manner of death are pending. Like, they are not putting an answer on the website for the medical examiner's office. So we only know these little blips that they've given out to the media, and we're not really sure because sometimes if a non-medical person is writing an article, they might not be explaining it correctly. And again, we were just talking about with the terminology with the Tylenol thing, like when the medical examiner says the body is not intact, to me that means that maybe the hand isn't attached or their limbs aren't attached or something like that. But you can't just jump to the word dismemberment, because when a person is severely decomposed, like they said, you have to remember that all the bones are stuck together with soft tissue. So if that decomposes, then you could have like a natural dismemberment that wasn't necessarily done by the person who killed her. So we don't know any of that, but like I just want to be careful of saying those words, because that's a whole different scene in a way.
Well, yeah, and like I believe we talked about this on the YouTube live. Maybe you and I talked about it in a private conversation, but we don't know for a fact that she was murdered at this time. But the crime committed here was she was put in a bag and put in a car. So like somebody committed some form of a crime by putting her in there. It's not like she got we had done that dissection about the boys in Camden before that got stuck in the trunk and died in the car accidentally. That was not what happened. Like I guess it's possible she crawled in the trash bag and closed the trunk, but like,
listen,
we just don't know.
In the world of forensics, like, weirder things have happened, right? Do you remember that one case, that Eliza Lamb case at that Cecil Hotel?
Yeah.
That was like so weird that she ended up in the water supply tank of the hotel. Like, weird stuff happens sometimes, especially when people are doing drugs or something, or they're having some kind of a psychological issue. But I don't know. Like, I have a lot of questions about it, because to me, the word severely decomposed means that this person is like still has soft tissue attached, clearly, because they were able to identify this tattoo that she had matching with him, right? So she has to have some kind of soft tissue attached still. But a severely decomposed person to me is like, has a lot of soft tissue missing and has some bones sticking out. And that, even though she was inside of a dark color car in an area that was 90 to 95 degrees, that level of decomposition, I just feel like, I don't know, it's just, it might, I don't want to 100% say this, because I didn't get to examine the body and stuff, but if she was murdered and she was put in the trunk right away, then she's in an environment that has low oxygen, low airflow, and more importantly, there's no access for insects or animals to get to her body, right? So when you start decomposing, the bacteria puts off these gases that attract like flies. And then the flies lay eggs, and then they have maggots, and the maggots eat the tissue and kind of help break down the body. Well, when you don't have that assistance, in theory, it takes, even though it's so hot, it takes longer to decompose to that level. So was she there 5 days? I don't know. Like, it's totally possible she was killed and kept in a house for a while and then moved to the car. Like, I just don't know.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I mean, there's a million scenarios that could have gone down, and nobody's been arrested or charged right now. I think the most important part of this case is that she was missing for a year and a half. She was a minor. She was found the day after what would have been her 15th birthday. So we know she died at 14 years old. And, all these online sleuths have been pulling up all this data basically from Discord and social media. And of course, this is not 100% confirmed by police yet, that they possibly, meaning Celeste and David, had a relationship going back to possibly when she was 11 years old.
Yeah, it's super bizarre because there's definitely pictures of them together that multiple people have found through different live streams that he's done. I mean, this guy's got millions of followers. You have to think about that. So, which is odd because this child, she's a child, was reported missing, and there is a poster floating around with her picture on it and her name and her age, and not one of the millions of people that saw her and knew that her name was Celeste, because he was really not hiding it, right? He wrote a song about a person named Celeste.
He wasn't hiding it, and then this video came out over the weekend that her former teacher was using the case as an example of how dangerous social media could be, and a student filmed him talking about it. But he was talking about her and how she met this guy on social media and how he had picked her up and brought her back. So she lived about 90 minutes outside of LA. So according to the teacher, David had picked Celeste up, brought her back to LA, and the police got her and brought her back home. And then a couple months later is when she was declared missing in April of 2024. So I'm just saying, like, if they know he's involved, why did nobody know she was there? Especially because he wasn't seemingly hiding it. I just think there are so many bizarre details of this case. According to her brother, they had reported it to police and thought that she was there, but nobody did anything about it.
See, I was thinking from what I read that, because the mother said this too, like the teacher said it. Everyone knew she had a rapper boyfriend named David, but I don't think they knew it was him. You know what I mean? That's the problem. Like, if the brother goes to the cops
if she ran away with him months before and they retrieved her from his house.
I don't know if she was retrieved from his house, and if he was, because obviously, like, well, not obviously, especially in California, but assuming the police show up and there's a minor at a grown man's house, they would do something about it. They probably got her, but she was not associated with him at all. And that's why they don't know who he is. So the brother goes to the police and says she has this rapper boyfriend named David. Like, what the hell are they going to do with that? Everybody's named David. Like, that's not helpful at all. Because they didn't know it was like that stupid way he spells his name with the letter 4 in it. That's impossible to... That was real fun writing about him yesterday with that stupid name. Anyway, so another weird thing too is that, so this child went missing at 13 years old, and her mother had told police that she had a tattoo on her finger that said shh. And I'm just like, how is this kid... So this kid's on social media. This is how she meets this guy, David, right? What was she on, Discord or something?
Yeah.
Which is just an absolute extra terrible one for a kid to be on. And she's got a tattoo already. She's 13. She's a little kid.
So, all right. So I think that the information about the tattoo is a little confusing, because I think what happened was they looked at her remains. They narrowed her age down to like 11 to 16 or something. And then they cross-examined that with missing persons and came across her. And then when they notified the family, that's when they found out about the tattoo.
No, the mother said that she had a tattoo.
Okay, so I guess I was reading they found out about it when they went and identified her body.
That's part of the identification, was that the mother said she had this tattoo on her finger.
Okay.
So if the mom knew about it, she was 13 years old or earlier when she got it, because that's the last time the mom has seen her.
Well, I've been seeing a lot of criticisms towards the mother too. Well, about like, how was why was your kid on these platforms? Now you think about the tattoo.
Like, I agree with that completely. Like, that could be a whole other episode, but like, I'm not going to sit here and like like her kid is dead in the back of a car. Like I just like I'm not going there right now. But like
unless there's like confirmed information from the investigation that shows her involvement in it, people should really leave her alone.
Well,
right
yeah,
now.
I mean, and listen, like it's nice to talk about because it's a good lesson that you have to watch children on the internet and I mean, like we talk about this every single week about some different story. But yeah, so when they find remains like that, that's exactly what's going to happen. That first they're just going to be like, try to figure out who is this person, and especially with a teenage child, it's pretty easy to pinpoint a narrowed down range because of their teeth. So there certain teeth come out at different ages. We have the teeth, we have certain bones, growth plates. They fuse at different ages. So you'll be able to see when a child's still growing. So usually around 20 years old, the growth plates are closed. So you could be like, okay, well, this child is under 20 years old. But then you could say, okay, these molars are grown in. So they have to be somewhere in between 11 and 20. And they could really just narrow it down based upon what they see doing an x-ray post-mortem. So they're going to sit there and figure out, okay, this is definitely like either a tween or a teenager. And it's not even the same as an adult, because a child, there should always be a report out for a missing child because it's a child, right? So then they go through their database and then they find, there's this girl that's been missing, 13 years old, and she also has brown hair and she also has brown eyes. And I don't know if the mother gave the tattoo information or not to when the missing person report was filed, and then they can confirm obviously with DNA and if the mother had dental records on her and stuff. But I mean, it's just terrible too, because even think about this, like if he had nothing to do with her death, it's just like he left for tour on July 30th and just like left a child by herself.
Well, it's that detail that has me, suspicious, and also the fact that they found her body on September 8th in his car. I'm assuming they alerted him that day about it.
Yeah.
And he didn't stop touring until his shows got canceled last week, like 10 days later.
Yeah, it's so weird.
So you can go on and like, I understand you have obligations, but you're in the middle of a criminal investigation right now.
So let's say this, in theory. Let's say his best friend was using his car while he was away, and they called him and said, "Sir, there's a dead body in your car." Like, he didn't know it was her right away, right? So, I mean, listen, like any normal person would be like, "Oh my God, I'm coming home. Like, what is happening right now?" But he didn't, which is really, really, really bizarre. I'm just putting this out there because we actually know someone that something similar like this has happened to. Is it possible that he did not know that she was that age?
Like, okay, like, because we know somebody it happened to, possibly, but I'm thinking about Lillian, right? She's around the same age as Lillian in the missing posters. A, she's declared a missing person, and it says her age on there. B, she looks like a 13-year-old. She does not look like a 20-year-old.
But she, in the one picture, she's wearing like a tank top that's pretty low cut, and she has a little bit of cleavage there. Yeah, but I'm just saying, listen, they're like Lillian is still, she's not through it yet, so she still has childlike appearances. But there are children that some kids get, like my friend growing up, get their period when they're in third grade, and they're very like mature looking.
But what I'm getting at is when I look at photos of her, she's not very mature looking. She might pass as a 15-year-old, but she's still a kid and she's still way too young to be with him. So I think even if they prove he had nothing to do with her death, he's still a pedophile. Like,
no, he is.
The relationship
I'm just saying
is
that,
true.
like, if he's from another part of California and meets this girl and they start dating and he just like never met her family, she says she's 17 or 18 or whatever, and then she left. Like, if the police weren't involved with him specifically, she could have just like broke up with him and left and then came back. And like how would he know? This is just a conversation I want to have, just because, and thank God I don't have a son that I don't have to deal with this, but like there are situations where a teenage girl would lie and say that she was older than she actually was.
No, for sure.
So that could be like in the differential here too. I'm just trying to put that out there.
I would just love the data. I would love to see what he says about it. Because they're obviously interrogating him about this entire thing.
And we're going to learn more about this, obviously. Like, we'll talk about it more on this show once we get the autopsy report. And by the time we get it, it's going to be online. Well, yeah, because like we ordered it, 2 days after we could have ordered it. So it'll all be online by the time whoever ordered it first, But, I mean, obviously. So listen, I know that earlier you said that we don't know 100% that this is a homicide because they didn't put it as the manner of death. However, and listen, like every single time homicide detectives are called, it's not always a homicide. It's just something is suspicious and it might be a homicide, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that they went to the house and were specifically looking for blood evidence and specifically looking in drains and things like that leads me to believe that at autopsy they saw something that said she would have bled a lot and we need to find where she was killed.
Yeah,
because why else would they be like, let's say she was manually strangled, right? They wouldn't be looking for blood because he squeezed her neck, and why would they be looking for blood? Right?
But who killed her? Like, when did she die?
You're sure that he never had a break and went home for a day?
Listen, I looked at the tour dates. Anything's possible. There was like days where he had a day off. Like, I actually think he had a day off the day she was found. But at that time, I believe on like the 7th, he had a show in Minnesota, and then on the 9th, he had a show in Wisconsin. So like, it would be a lot to fly back for one night and go back, right? But it's possible. But the neighbors had said that car hadn't moved in over a month, and that's why it got reported as abandoned. So I would think if it's on a busy street in the Hollywood Hills, somebody would have seen somebody put a big, large trash bag in the trunk. So like, was she in there beforehand?
That's what I don't know what the 5-day thing is. Like,
how did
I just
they
don't. I don't know. I
determine
just
it?
don't. I don't think so. Like, if it was outside, I'd be like, yes. Like, especially like in Florida, that could happen real fast.
Don't Teslas have like cameras all over them too? Aren't they going to be able to see something or at least see the last time? Don't they have monitors in every single part of the car so they could see the last time the trunk was opened?
Yeah, I'm sure. We just like, they're not telling us anything, so. And as soon as we're done recording this episode, like a whole bunch of shit will come out as usual. All right.
Naturally. We'll cover it on the YouTube Live. So
I know, right?
All right. Last week, this 32-year-old man got on the Stardust Racers roller coaster in Universal, and when the ride was over, he was unresponsive and later pronounced dead at the hospital. So my first thought was a medical episode, but I was pretty shocked by what they're saying.
So this guy, I guess this may or may not be relevant, but this guy had some kind of a spinal cord injury and was in a wheelchair. So, but that was allowed on the ride. They assisted him to get him off. So I don't know if he had trouble using his legs or like he straight up was paralyzed. I don't know. They just said he had a spinal cord injury. So I'm pretty certain, I would say that would be relevant if he had a spinal cord injury and had other problems associated with that without having his legs move. For example, like you can get ulcers and infections and just like different things could happen. And then you could have subsequent medical issues because of that. In this case, because his manner of death was ruled accidental, so it didn't have to do with a medical issue. And the craziest part is that the cause of death was listed as blunt force trauma. So to me, his spinal cord injury means nothing to this case. He was like whipped around and hurt by something to the point that it killed him. Like his body hit against something, whether it was a cell phone that fell out of someone's pocket or against a rod hanging or someone's shoe or what, at that force going through a roller coaster. Like something hurt his body so bad that it killed him.
Okay, so this is a point I wanted to say that Louis brought up to me. So Louis saw something on TikTok, and of course this is not confirmed or anything, and there is investigations that the ride were operating properly and everything. But this is a dual launch roller coaster, so they have 2 tracks, and there's 2 roller coasters going at the same time. And at certain points, the tracks get kind of close to each other where they like will dip off. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I watched a point of view video of the roller coaster, and there are points where the cars come pretty close to one another. And Louis had said he saw something on TikTok that possibly the guy could have gotten hit if somebody's arms were up. And the roller coasters went over depending on how tall he was.
Yeah, and they'll be able to figure that out because there's God, I just keep thinking like what, because does it have the over shoulder harness?
I'm not sure.
Because it probably does if it's like a roller coaster like that.
I would think it does because it turns a lot. I could say what you're going to say and I'll look it up.
Yeah, because I'm just curious because really when you're talking about dying from blunt force trauma, right? It's not because you got hit in the leg unless it was to the point that it amputated your leg. It like he got hit in the head or he got hit in the chest.
Yes, to harness.
Okay,
Wait.
so there's a harness over.
No harness.
There's not?
No, just a bar.
But like, let me see. Show me a picture of it.
Hold on.
It goes like, it's like a lap bar. His chest is exposed.
Yes.
Okay, so.
This is like the 2 side by side.
Yeah. Like, I think it was either an unsecure object or just proximity somehow. I mean, I can't imagine that that's the case because they'd be having problems all over, and unless there was like a freakishly tall person on there that had legs that were like, like a 7-foot tall person that had extra long legs that didn't make the clearance or something.
I would think they would have cleared that in testing.
Obviously. I'm so intrigued by this because I just want to know, like, obviously, like, everybody, just from the accounts I was reading online, like people knew what was happening right away and people were visibly like freaking out about it. So I wonder if they take every single person off the ride and like interview them and try to figure out what happened. I mean, this is the thing though with like certain parks that I've been to recently have been very much like, you have to leave your phone here. You have to leave your glasses here.
You should.
Yeah. And it sucks for a person like me because I can't see without my glasses. So when I go on a ride, like I literally can't see what's happening. But also I don't want them to fly off of my face and hit somebody and hurt them because, I mean, my phone's pretty heavy. Like if I drop it on my foot, it hurts, right? Well, imagine the force of going 70 miles an hour on a roller coaster and it flinging at someone like.
Oh, totally.
So it was something, if he didn't have the harness over his chest, that was unprotected too. So something had to hit his chest or his head, or like I said, like if something was that bad that he had an amputation, he could have bled out from that, from a limb amputation or something. But I don't know if there was any accounts of it being a bloody scene or.
Well, people reported officials were told to respond to a patient who had a laceration. And when they got there, he wasn't breathing and CPR was already in progress. And then he was pronounced dead at the hospital later.
The word laceration is like, well, was it like across his freaking neck? Like, I mean,
exactly.
The thing is that
could it have been an animal, like a bird?
It could have been. It could have been anything, I guess, like a beak. I don't know. I'm sure. Like, we'll learn more because this is going to go to trial, I assume, or they might just try to like settle it. But you'll get more information from it because. You know what's crazy to me? There's probably people that are on that ride as we speak. Like, people are just like, yeah, whatever.
It's a newer ride. I think it just opened earlier this year. But, like, what I was getting at, if,
was Louis on it?
I don't think.
Because I feel like he went
there. Did they go
to
Universal this year?
I feel like he did. I don't know.
Curious. I understand the point Louis made about the arms, right? But, like, I feel like in today's day and age, we're not talking about, like, Action Park where somebody's drawing a ride on a napkin and they're not doing any engineering testing or anything. Like, I would assume that point would have been brought up in the many test before the ride was developed, and they would have seen it in testing.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, there would have been a problem already. It's just, so he had a visible laceration. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I just, like, I hate that I don't know. Drives me nuts.
This episode is brought to you by The Gross Room.
Guys, last week's Celebrity Death Dissection was on Charlie Kirk, and we still haven't really added anything to that because they just came out with a little bit of information, but I want to make sure it's from a more substantial source before we add to that post. But we also, as Maria was saying, we just did a high-profile death dissection on Celeste Rivas and her association with the singer David, and we really go into all of the different things that they look at autopsy, like what this body might look like when it comes out of the trunk, and how they look at it in the autopsy room, external exam, imaging that we'll do, what bones they're looking at, and things like that. So it's really interesting, so check that out.
Head over to thegrossroom.com now to sign up. All right, so a teacher has been put on administrative leave after the school found out she was a surrogate for another family.
All right, so what's the big part of this story? She works at a Catholic school.
Yeah, so she works at a Catholic school, and so apparently Catholics consider surrogacy to be unethical, and I thought in this source we watched today about the story that a parent at the school made a really good point that if you're going to put a teacher on leave because you don't believe in surrogacy, you also should not accept tuition from families that have used surrogates or gone through IVF.
Wasn't Mary kind of like a surrogate? Wasn't she like holding a baby that wasn't kind of really hers?
The Virgin Mary?
Yes.
You mean she just didn't have a spontaneous baby? That's not scientifically possible.
But wasn't it like I sound like such a bad Catholic. Wasn't it like this being inside her? Like did they really like was she like his mom, or was she just like a carrier of Jesus?
So you're saying that Mary is God's surrogate?
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to pose it that way. What is it
I
called? The Immaculate Conception?
Oh my God. All of these people are going to attack me on this. Listen, I didn't go to Catholic school really, and I went to CCD, and I didn't really pay attention, so I'm sorry, but
we're Catholic. Sorry if we're offending you, but this is bullshit. I understand if they don't want to cover her maternity leave for a child that's not her own, but to say you don't believe in surrogacy in this modern age is so ridiculous.
Well, it goes with the religion. Let me tell you a story, guys. This is a good story. So I went to Catholic school in 9th grade when I got pregnant with Maria. And they told me that I wasn't allowed to be at the school because I was pregnant and I couldn't be wearing a uniform pregnant at the school. But they also told me if I got an abortion that I would get kicked out. So there you go. That's Catholicism wrapped up for you.
It's just so hypocritical.
Yeah. That's why a lot of people have a problem with it.
So this happened in Vineland, New Jersey, which is not very far from where we live. I'm going to call them out. St. Mary's. Everybody look them up. St. Mary's. So this woman that's the teacher there said she's
carrying a fucking baby for somebody. You're like a special saint. Yes. God, so this is why I can't do it. I can't do it.
I can't do it either. Sorry if people are offended by this, but if you don't think this is the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, you need to reevaluate your values. So this lady is saying, the teacher, that she was a surrogate for, I guess, the same family when she worked at another Catholic school in Philly, and they had no problem with it, as they shouldn't, because don't they preach acceptance? So,
or just family bringing life into the world.
Yes.
Some people just have their anatomy broken and can't do it and need help. Anyway.
Yes. So there's no problem there. So she's now carrying the sibling of the first child she carried, and she's 25 weeks pregnant, and she told the principal about it, and that's when they decided to put her on paid administrative leave while they investigate the situation. What's to investigate? Like,
we might have talked about a story a while ago. Wasn't there something that happened that somebody got fired because of from a Catholic school because they were like taking birth control, or there was something with the birth control?
Oh, I don't.
Or maybe it
remember that.
was the insurance, the health insurance wouldn't cover birth control. I don't know. It's something to do with
yeah,
Catholic
it was
and birth
something like
control or
that.
something. Yeah. Whatever.
This
I mean,
is
it is, everybody knows what it is. Like, it's messed up because I think that most normal people are like, okay, she's clearly doing a good deed, and this is just like, maybe they don't want the.
You would think carrying a child for a family that can't do it themselves, you would be considered a good Christian, not banished from your school that you work at. And what does her being a surrogate have to do with her teaching kindergarteners? She's a kindergarten teacher.
Do you think that maybe they're like, you know, because they like to put on this front that everything's okay. Like, she's not going home till she's not going to have that baby after she has it, and she's like, she might not be married, whatever. Like, do you think that that's it, that they care about the impression that it's putting on the kids? I mean, I don't know. I think that's a good lesson to be like, yeah, like, it's like in Fuller House when Kimmy Gibbler is carrying the baby for Stephanie, like, because she couldn't have a baby. Like, you're like awesome for doing that. That's like a good thing to show people.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, this is my problem with the church. I mean, with our situation specifically, right? It's like, you're going to get kicked out, but then again, they let my dad stay, who was 50% responsible for the pregnancy.
Oh, yeah, well, because he played football, so that was important to the school. I have another actual ism with that, too. Like, so, you know, when you're Catholic, you're supposed to baptize your child, which they encourage, but they said, so you have to baptize this child, but you can't do it where we normally do it because of your situation. So I
was a bastard child.
So yes, so you had to get baptized in the rectory with like 2 nuns, and like nobody could see it. We were like snuck in the back door to do it.
Well,
that's when mom was like, I'm done here.
Well, exactly. And like, let me tell you, any child coming out of me is not going through that system, because they have treated us horribly. And I think this is another example.
It's just weird because I think to say a blanket statement of that, we were just talking about this with Paul when we did the episode where he just traveled to Indonesia, and he said those people were Catholics. It's just like, it varies from place to place. Like, I know Catholic organizations that are like very welcoming of like gay couples and things like that. It's just like, they're way more open-minded to like what's really going on in the world in 2025, whereas like this particular one is just not. So,
well, this is my thing. Like, I don't have a problem with religion. I have a problem with this in particular because they're constantly preaching this one way of life, yet they're never living it. They're actually like the most judgmental people most of the time.
Truth.
And that's what I can't get behind.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to say
nice.
most. I know a few religious people that are like very like selfless and kind and like,
of course there's people
living
like that. Like,
I have like really, really good friends that are like that. And I always am kind of I respect that. They're just like good people. They're like here to help and to do good things. And then I know some others that I'm just like, yeah, you going to church is not helping how shitty you are, you know?
If anything, it makes them worse. So like, yeah, and I agree with you. Like, of course there's people that do live by it and are really good people, and then there's people that use it as an excuse to be a complete asshole. And I just think like this is a situation of like, I would be more understanding if they were just like, since this isn't going to be your baby, we're not going to cover your maternity leave. But like, that doesn't even seem to be the case in this story. Like, they just have a moral issue with it.
Yeah, like, I mean, this is the thing. Like, as far as I'm concerned, this is the law that I always thought of, at least working in New Jersey anyway, like, you don't legally have to tell your employer that you're pregnant. Like, because, you know, my friend Andrea I was talking about earlier, like, she couldn't get pregnant. She was having problems, right? When she finally got pregnant with her first baby, she didn't tell anybody at work until she was like 26 weeks, I think. 24 or 26 weeks.
So she was very visibly pregnant.
And she's like a little tiny nugget. So she was visibly pregnant. And like nobody could ask her legally. You can't say like, are you you can't do that. So like she should have just went to school and taught and just been like, whatever.
Well, I think most people want to think like by saying it, it's not going to be an issue.
Yeah, and like you want to prepare them for the leave and everything like that. But I don't think you have to legally tell your employer anyway. So like, I mean, she was trying to just do the right thing, but clearly that backfired.
And I really agree with the parent that said they should not accept the tuition. If they morally think it's wrong, then you should also not allow the families to go there, and you shouldn't take their money.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's again, you'll take the money, but you won't have a kindergarten teacher work who's doing a very nice thing for a family in need. So like, God, my blood pressure is so raised
we
right
could tell.
now. Okay.
We could tell.
So last week, the story came up about a mother and daughter who were pregnant by the same man, and I was pretty sure we covered it, but I really looked through all the backlog of the episodes.
No, I don't remember talking about this. We could not find it.
I could not find it anywhere. So this story is insane. The mother, who was in her 40s, started a relationship with a younger guy. They moved in together. Then her 22-year-old daughter moves in with them and also starts a relationship with the man in the house. So then they find out they're both pregnant by him, and they're due only 1 week apart from each other. And you would think most people would be highly disturbed by this, but they are pretty stoked about it.
Do you think this is real? Because I don't.
I actually don't, because they're both on OnlyFans. It got them a lot of attention. And this other information came out that they apparently all still live in the same house and share a bed. And that's incestuous. And I don't believe that it's really happening.
Oh, I think that could happen.
No, that could happen,
Weird
but I
shit
don't
happens.
think in this case it happens. Because this story is from like February. And they were looking, you know, pretty pregnant in the pictures, and there's been no information if these children were ever born and where they are.
Do you think it, like, if it is real, it could just be like, holy shit, like, this is actually really terrible for everyone involved? Maybe it just like clicked, like, oh yeah, I can't even, this kind of shit confuses me so much. So like, her daughter is having a baby, so that's her grandchild, and her mom's having a baby, so that's her sibling.
Yeah, so her mom's baby is going to be her sibling, and then her daughter's baby is going to be her grandchild, but also her kid's half sibling.
Yeah, like it's so weird. But listen, I didn't even know who this person was until I looked at their names, and one of them is Jade Teen, and the other one is Danny Swings.
Well, that's
and I'm
their
just like
OnlyFans name.
Yeah, like
so.
I was just like, whose names, like whatever. So, and then I looked it up, and I was like, yeah, pretty typical of what I expected to see. So it's like, to me, it's just like I hope for society and for just everything that this is made up.
Well, we were joking, like, what if we got pregnant at the same time? And a couple listeners sent me stories that's like really common in Utah, I guess, because Mormons have children very young and they often have a lot of kids. So sometimes it will overlap where like the oldest daughter and the mom are having kids at the same time.
Yeah, I could see that. Like if you have a kid when you're 19 or 20, in theory, you could have a kid up until you're 40 something. Like it's totally possible.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's going to be happening in our case, but
it's not. I'm not having more kids. It's
now
not
you got
happening.
The pellets.
Yeah, the pellets will prevent me, hopefully. Well, not really, because they're actually they would cause a problem, but I have taken care of that.
All right, last story. A woman is suing the hospital she worked at after they fired her for reporting that 2 newborns were given to the wrong mothers and breastfed.
Dude, this hospital is, you've heard me say before, horrible experience both times I gave birth. Well, guess what? It was there.
Well, I'm not really surprised because I do know a couple people that had great experiences there, but I feel like I know more people that had bad experiences there. And this incident happened in the summer. So let me go over what happened. This nurse is saying that she arrived to her 7 a.m. shift, and the night nurse told her that 2 babies were brought to the nursery overnight by request, but had since been returned to the families. So the morning nurse starts doing her rounds, goes into the first room, checked the barcode on the bassinet and the mother, but never actually checked the baby's bracelet because she was breastfeeding or about to breastfeed. Same thing happened in the next room. She goes to a couple other rooms, and then she goes back to the first patient, getting ready to discharge her. And the mom is distressed because the baby that she just breastfed's bracelet does not match her child's name. And then they realize that there was a mix-up.
Dude, this is a really big deal. Like, really, really big deal. And honestly, I feel like there's such safeguards in place to make this impossible to happen. And God, like, if you've delivered with these people working there, wouldn't you be scared that, like, this is this the first time this has happened?
Well, personally, I would never go there because of other horror stories I've heard, specifically with you. But I can't understand it. Like, they are saying they have these barcodes on the bassinet, on the baby, on the mother to match it. So I don't understand what happened with the night nurse. I'm a little more forgiving of the morning nurse, but she still should have checked the baby even if the baby was being breastfed. But then again, like, you know, she did check the bassinet and the mom, but she was saying she didn't want to disrupt the parent, and she didn't physically hand that baby off. So you would want to think that the night nurse did it, but these protocols are in place so this doesn't happen.
All right, she's the one that noticed the problem and brought it to her supervisors, which in the hospital, they always want you to report when there's a mistake and that to me is a really big mistake, like a really, really, really big mistake.
A huge mistake. What if they sent the kid home with the wrong family?
I just can't. Like, you know, I've heard a lot of comments online of people saying, like, how'd you not recognize your baby and this and that? And it's like, I get that. Like, I feel like when I had my kids, they just looked so specific that I just know their face is like permanently tattooed in my mind, right? But at the same time, it's like a lot of women are like, they have the epidural and they're coming out of this and they're coming out of that. Like, you just had a baby. Obviously, you don't feel great. You're tired because you haven't slept. And like, there's just like a lot of different reasons. And when you're there and they hand you a baby and say, like, here's your baby, like, you might not even question it because, like, why would they give you why would you think you have to check the bracelet, right? But, and like, listen, I don't know that the mothers at this point can really have a lawsuit because the bottom line is that, like, nothing happened. They checked both the babies and the mothers for infectious disease, because that would definitely be like lawsuit worthy. Like, let's say the mom had HIV or something like that, right? One of them did and one of them did, you know, then you're like, you just exposed my baby to like this bloodborne pathogen.
Well, it's just more of a disturbing thing, right? Not necessarily like dangerous.
It's disturbing, and think about like I would just feel so hurt and traumatized that like my kid was being like smelling someone else and like drinking someone else's milk. Like, it just would upset me so bad.
Well,
but like, listen, it's the same shit with me at that same exact hospital. Like, it totally traumatized our whole family, but like the bottom line is like I'm still alive and so is Lillian. So like
you can't do anything.
You can't do anything. And like I don't want to just be like, oh, I don't even want to sue them to get money for myself. I just wanted I want to sue them because nobody else that goes there even knows that happened. And listen, the same thing here. Nobody would have known this happened until this nurse was like, I got fired for the wrong reason.
Well, exactly. And so she's claiming because she reported it, that's why they fired her.
Yeah, which is
to like cover it up.
Which is not cool because like, if you want to send a message to your employees, like, hey, when there's a problem, you need to report it. Listen, I know how this hospital is, though. They like want their shit to look good, their numbers and stuff. And I'm actually curious, like, if this even got reported to who it should have got reported to. But think about this. This happened in when? July? And we're just hearing about it now. We never would have heard about it. And then you have to think about how many times has this happened there that we didn't hear about things at all.
Well,
like
exactly.
swept under the rug. And now look, like if I had a baby there within the past year or something, I would be like freaking out. I'd be like, do I have my kid? Did they switch it? Did they not check the bracelet? Like,
because listen, like, how would you, I mean, I get what people are saying too. I mean, obviously I never had a baby, so like I don't know what it's like when you first give birth, but like I'm thinking, like, what if a mom had a C-section and was on all these drugs and was out of it, exactly like you're saying? Like,
it's totally possible. And
would you even notice unless the kid started getting older and you were like, wow, this kid looks nothing like me or the child's father?
No, I would think that I would, but I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't want to say because I've never been in that position, but I have been in the position of it being like in the middle of the night and then waking me up and saying like, here's your baby, you want to feed it? And I was finally in a dead sleep and I just took the kid and stuck her on my boob. I didn't really like it, like, you know what I mean?
I think this hospital presents as this like beautiful resort, brand new, state of the art. But they have a lot of
exactly that sums
issues.
It up 100%. That's exactly my opinion on it, is that like, and I've said that from the beginning, like they care more about what it looks like instead of like I'd rather go to the grimiest hospital ever if the people working there like know what they're doing, because ultimately, like, I don't want to be at the Ritz-Carlton delivering a baby. Like, I want, you know, I was just talking to you about this, like when a couple of my friends delivered at a Pennsylvania hospital, like they had to share a room with somebody because it's a small city hospital, but like they know their shit. They're doing awesome work there. Like, you don't care about that kind of stuff. Having your own room, your husband could sleep in the room. Like, who gives a shit? Like, I kind of want to go home with the baby that came out of my vagina. Like, sorry.
Well, of course. I mean, this is unacceptable on all levels. And like, I don't necessarily agree with them firing the nurse that reported it. Like, I agree she didn't take the step, right? But she did check something. It's not like she walked in there and glazed over that. And she wasn't the nurse that physically handed them off to the wrong families or who did the mix-up. So, like, what happened to the nurse that actually did the mix-up?
I don't know if I mean, I know that it doesn't look good when a person reports something and gets fired. But, like, the whole reason, like, I've never been a nurse, but I'm a PA and work in a hospital, right? Like, there's certain things that you're supposed to do every time because that's how you catch mistakes.
But they were already like in the middle of breastfeeding when that nurse went into the room the first time. So like it was already done.
No, it was done, but she didn't. When she went in, you're saying that she checked the bassinet and then thought it was okay and then didn't realize it until after, like, the mom picked it up. Like when she went in the room and saw the bassinet there and checked it, they have a list that's like, check bassinet. It's the same with us. Ready? Listen, totally different situation. We get a body for autopsy, right?
Yeah.
There's a toe tag that's on the bag itself. There's a toe tag that's on the toe, and there's a bracelet on the patient. We have to check every single one of them. If they're not the same, which has happened a couple times, that they're not the same. I literally had the wrong body one time in the bag. If you don't do, and I could have cut that body if I didn't check. And I would have done the autopsy on a completely wrong person. Because mistakes happen, people are human, right? That's why those checks are in place. So every single time I took a body out of the fridge, I had to put it on the autopsy table, check the bag, check the bag, check the toe tag, check the bracelet, and then check the chart. And we have like what's called like a timeout, like me and one of the residents or something. Okay, this is Mr. Jones. Yep. Mr. Jones, Mr. Jones, Mr. Jones. Okay, same medical, couple digits of the medical record number. Yep. Same date of birth. Yep. Okay, we have the right patient. And that's what she didn't do. Like, I understand that she checked the bassinet, but her protocol is to check the baby too, and she didn't do it.
No, totally. She was still wrong, but like, did that other nurse not get? I'm assuming the other nurse got fired too.
I'm sure everybody that had something to do with it.
I would agree with her being put on suspension.
I feel like they should have. Yeah, I feel like they should have maybe like reprimanded her maybe, and like because now like everybody knows what happened, and clearly they don't like the negative press for sure, because and like who really saw the article? I mean, I would just be like, no, like this is a really big deal. I'm more mad that they didn't say anything about it when it happened, you know?
Well, yeah, and it might have been more on our radar because you had such a bad experience there. So
yeah,
like,
exactly. Of course, when it popped up on the news, I was just like, oh, really? Shocker.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to questions of the week. Every Friday on the @MotherKnowsDeath Instagram account or on our YouTube channel, you can ask us whatever questions you want. First, do you recall your first ever autopsy? What was the experience like the first time?
Yes, I do. Do you mean first autopsy I ever saw or first one I ever did?
Maybe both. Just do a brief rundown of both.
So the first one I ever saw was a guy who had HIV and ended up dying from complications from AIDS. That was cool. That was when I was still a cytotech. It was an interesting experience because I really had only seen one dead person prior to that in my entire life when my uncle died. So, and he was at a viewing, so it just was a different situation. And it was just very weird because you walk into the autopsy room, and this was at Hahnemann Hospital, which isn't even a hospital anymore. But like my favorite morgue of all time, because it was on the 5th floor and it had windows and you could see the whole skyline. It was really cool. But there's residents there, doctors, medical students. The room was full of like 10 people, and I'm just kind of like, there's a dead person right there. Like, why are you guys all just like hanging around like this is nothing? And yeah, so that was that, and it was cool. I didn't even get to assist or anything. I just like stood in the corner and just was watching and just couldn't believe what I was looking at. And then the very first one that I did by myself, I would say, well, the very first one that I ever cut was at the medical examiner's office on somebody that was severely decomposed with like the maggots in the anus and everything. It was so messy, but those people aren't having a viewing, so they're really good to start to practice doing incisions on first, because if you don't do it perfect, they're not going to have a viewing. So that was the very first one I cut. And then the very first one that I cut by myself was a cardiac tamponade was the cause of death. And that was like really exciting to work with the pathologist on that, because I had never seen it in real life. But when I took the chest plate off, I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like I knew what it was. So.
All right, 2. If a woman dies, do you check to see if she's pregnant during an autopsy?
I mean, we're not, when I opened the uterus, I'm not looking for that, but like if we saw it, we would see it if it was there. Like at least, I don't know what they do for medical examiner cases, because like let's say a person gets shot, like a woman gets shot, a childbearing age woman gets shot in the head. I don't know if they're going to take out the uterus and like open the uterus and stuff. They probably do. They just don't do as thorough as an autopsy as you do in a medical institution most of the time at the ME's office, because like if they could determine the cause of death, then.
But what if like
she was pregnant and like that's why she got killed? I don't know.
Or like,
is that what you were going to say?
No, like couldn't it be like double homicide if you kill an unborn baby? Like how does that work?
I don't know. Like I just don't know what they do there. Because when I went there, it was like we didn't always look at every single organ like that. Like certain places, it just depends which one. Because some places are just like, we just want to find out the cause of death. We have a cause of death. This person had a cardiac tamponade. That's how we died. We don't need to be examining their prostate gland and stuff. Like the hospital, though, for sure. Like we take all the organs out, we cut them open, and we look, and we even look at them under the microscope. Whereas the medical examiner won't always do that as well. So yeah, I've never seen it. I believe when I was in surgical pathology at some point in my education that there was a case that there was a hysterectomy done and there was a fetus inside.
Interesting.
And that was like, I remember it being like a really huge deal, but I wasn't personally involved in the case. So I just kind of tried to like eavesdrop, but stay out of it. And it was like while I was still in school. So I wasn't like 100% of like what was happening and stuff. And, but yeah.
All right, 3. Why do you think women are more into true crime than men?
I don't know, to be honest. It's definitely a thing. We could say 100% it's a thing.
I think a lot of it is like, I think a lot of it is like disbelief that happens and just like the pure fascination of that. And then I also think, like, for me, what I like the most is the investigation component, because I like seeing how like all the pieces get put together.
Do you think it's because women like drama?
Well, I'm sure that's a huge element as well.
For example, sometimes Gabe will tell me something about one of his friends or something at work or something, and then like my first question is like, well, what happened? Like, tell me what happened. And he's like, I don't know.
Believe me, Ricky's
I don't know.
the same exact way.
I don't know. They just got divorced. I don't know. He went to jail for the night. And I'm like, well, why? What happened? Oh, I don't know. Like, women have this like, no, I want to know everything. I need to know every single detail of this. Like, how did this go down? Men like I'm being totally sexist here, but listen, CrimeCon, it's palpable. It's definitely like every single, I think there were 2 men that came up to me the entire time that were by themselves.
Yeah, not with their wife.
Literally
or girlfriend.
2 men. Lots of other men were with a wife or a girlfriend, but and like the majority of men that I talked to were presenters.
Yes.
Not there. And Gabe went with us to CrimeCon last year and he said the same thing. He was just like, yo, this is like all chicks here. He noticed it right away. My analytics on Instagram, 87% female. There's something about it, obviously, that like, there's something to it. And I just wonder what that is. Not to say that, because there are lots, I know lots of men that are like very inquisitive and stuff. But another thing to consider too is that in my profession as a pathologist assistant, it's mostly, at least when I went to school and stuff, like heavy female. Like back in the day it was male, and then like now I would say that the field is heavily female.
Well, let me use this as an example. Like this morning I go to Ricky, did you hear about that girl that was found in that singer's car? No, he hasn't heard of it, of course, which I'm like, it's all over the news. How have you not heard of it? And then he's just like, oh, that sucks. Not like, how did she get there? What was her deal? Why was she dating an older guy? Like, I feel like women just naturally are so much more inquisitive and curious.
Dude,
where they just like accept the answers.
I said to the girls, we're all sitting down eating dinner last night, and I said, did you ever hear of this singer guy, David? Because he's like a social media, he's like, he has like an unusual way of being a singer. Like I think he made a bunch of videos and
yeah,
he like backdoored it kind of, right? So of course they're like, I mean, they like spit off the whole story to me. I was like, I just wrote about this all day and you literally know every single detail of it. Like it's insane because that's just like how they are. Whereas like if you were talking to a boy, I think that they would just be like, oh, I mean, guess.
On the other hand, my husband can give me every stat of every person that's ever played on the Philadelphia Flyers for the last 35 years. But otherwise, no interest, no questions.
No, it's true. So I think that's why. I think also like women tend to be, and this is just like general, because I know that some guys are like that too, but women tend to be more emotional. So like, if you watch a movie that's like a romance movie or anything, like you cry, right? You're just like, you get invested in the story and you feel like you cry because you feel like personally affected by it, right? Like dudes don't always get bothered by that kind of stuff. It's just like, it's like the whole like women are or men are from Mars, women are from Venus thing. Like there is something to be said about that. That like people can cross over for sure and have different, like I think like I have way more like male things like that than the average chick, right? But like for the most part, there's like a different way of thinking about things and reacting to things.
It is interesting to think about. Okay, guys, next Friday we are going to be at the Wildlife CSI at Lake Tobias Wildlife Park, and then the following weekend I will be volunteering at the Keeping Hope Alive Golf Classic, and the weekend after that we will have a live show at Darkside, New Jersey in Edison.
You have to tell them about the Mother Knows Death golf cart. It's like
there will be Mother Knows Death golf carts. We're going to take really cute photos with them, and it's going to be really cool to drive around in your little pink. Well, the whole golf cart's not going to be pink, but it's going to have our pink sticker on it.
All right,
so
good.
It'll be cute. If you have reviews for us, please head over to Apple or Spotify. You can leave them there. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have a story for us, please submit it to stories@motherknowsdeath.com.
See you guys. Thank you for listening to Mother Knows Death. As a reminder, my training is as a pathologist assistant. I have a master's level education and specialize in anatomy and pathology education. I am not a doctor and I have not diagnosed or treated anyone, dead or alive, without the assistance of a licensed medical doctor. This show, my website, and social media accounts are designed to educate and inform people based on my experience working in pathology so they can make healthier decisions regarding their life and well-being. Always remember that science is changing every day, and the opinions expressed in this episode are based on my knowledge of those subjects at the time of publication. If you are having a medical problem, have a medical question, or are having a medical emergency, please contact your physician or visit an urgent care center, emergency room, or hospital. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Mother Knows Death on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get podcasts. Thanks.